Bill Maher is a slow learner. Okay, so the guy with $100 million has gone back to voters shaming poor people right before Trump and Biden face off. But before we get into the voter shaming part, we need to go back to 2019 and take a look at Bill's effort to compel Democratic candidates to stop trying to appeal to progressive voters.
In America, we've got dozens of flavors of pretty much everything. Doritos and Gatorade, Oreos, Pepsi, Triscuits, Pop-Tarts, but we only have two political parties. Most democracies have a parliamentary system with many parties. We don't.
And nothing says democracy like a complete lack of choice. Seriously, instead of pointing out how shitty the two-party concept is, he's going to take this opportunity to scold you for not supporting it.
The question Democrats must ask themselves is, what would make a voter say, Trump's right, I don't like him, but I have no choice? Well, let's go down the list.
Well, most of America didn't vote at all last time, so you're starting with a terribly flawed premise. This can only go well.
Bernie Sanders says we should let the Boston Marathon bomber vote. Why? Is there a great clamoring to give deranged serial killers more of a voice in civil society?
Liar! Bernie's point was that voting is supposed to be a right, so it should never be able to be taken away from you. Every adult in America should have the right to vote, especially if they've ever had an income. I'll bet Bill didn't realize he just advocated for taxation without representation.
Elizabeth Warren has not come out in favor of imprisoned serial killers voting, but she does want taxpayers to cover their sex change operations in prison.
You are not the guy to make any future comments about how we treat transgender people in this country. Mostly because you're not a doctor, but mostly because you tend to say not good things about them.
Again, where are the votes in this? You know how many transgender people there are in federal prison in America? 473, and they can't vote.
Correct. Because we took away what's supposed to be a guaranteed right to do so. But you know who can still vote? Their loved ones, and non-imprisoned transgender people, and their loved ones, and people who believe in general equality across the board. Since when is standing up for the rights of a minority a laughable position?
So let's imagine a slightly different scenario. You're a progressive voter who likes Elizabeth Warren.
That's not a real thing.
But you find out that Warren does not support taxpayer-funded gender reassignment surgery for convicts. So that's it? Deal breaker, you're voting for Trump now?
Oh, I get it. You're taking minor headlines and treating them like they were major campaign policies so that you could mislead your own audience. Now it makes sense.
This is the binary thing Democrats don't get, because apparently they never saw the movie An Officer and a Gentleman, where a drill sergeant forces Richard Gere to admit the same truth that Democratic voters need to face.
I got nowhere else to go!
So, you're upset because Democratic candidates were reaching out to specific voters on specific issues that Republicans were either ignoring or demonizing.
You hear that, Bernie and Elizabeth and Beto and the rest of them? They got nowhere else to go. So you can stop wearing your most divisive issues on your sleeve.
You are actually telling Democratic candidates to not appeal to all walks of life and to not differentiate themselves from their opponents. Why? Because Trump said it's stupid?
Point is, instead of trying to make the people on the far left double dog like you, make some good people in the middle not hate you.
You really have learned nothing. Unfucking believable. You know who's in the middle, Bill? Lazy, comfortable schlubs who watch MSNBC and pat themselves on the back because they agree with Rachel Maddow that Orange Man is deplorable. The blue no matter who crowd, who doesn't give a shit about actual policy or motivation as long as they get to walk around with that undeserved sense of moral superiority. Just like last time, you have this 100% backward. The middle will vote for whoever the DNC is trying to install. Progressives, on the other hand, tend to vote for things like policy and principle. And if you actually appeal to us, you will get our vote. And you'll get the vote for the too stupid to argue blue no matter who followers. How does this basic math continue to evade you? Okay, so before I lose my shit completely, that was Bill Maher saying the left party should ignore left voters. Now let's watch Bill Maher tell the left voters to grow up and vote for the party that's completely ignored them.
New rule, power is like owning rabbits. The more you have, the easier it is to get a lot more.
Okay.
And that theme, that power begets power, should be on everyone's mind right now. The idea that when you lose power, you've not only lost that fight, you made it harder to win the next one.
Yeah. It's a shame she couldn't even cheat well.
When Democrats lose elections, they lose the ability to appoint judges. Trump has appointed a quarter of the entire federal bench, and unlike his wives, that's for life.
That is a good joke. Also, the Democrats in Congress have voted for all of Trump's judges, so he must be good at picking them.
Of course, Democrats are screaming now about Republican hypocrisy over Trump filling the Ginsburg seat in an election year. They said one thing when it was Obama, now they're saying the complete opposite. How do they sleep at night? I'll tell you how. Like a baby. Because like a baby, they have no morals.
Really, Bill? Tell you what, buddy, how about you do a quick YouTube search of Joe Biden lies, or Joe Biden plagiarizes, or Joe Biden gropes. Explain to me his pride over the mass incarceration bill, or just explain to me at all the concentration camps on our southern border. In October of 19, when that first new rule was made, a CBS poll said 91% of Democrats wanted a national health care system, and right now, during a global pandemic, your guy says he'd veto it. And I'm singling out Biden as one guy, let alone the entire Democratic Party. You explain Joe Biden being horrible for 50+ fucking years, and then we can step back and talk about how the entire Republican Party has no fucking morals.
This kind of completely bald-faced, premeditated hypocrisy should make it clear. There's no catching them in an inconsistency. They don't care, because it's all and only about power.
But see, that's not Republicans' bill. It's Democrats and Republicans. This is something that progressives have known for years that liberals just don't seem to get.
Nancy Pelosi's response to stopping Trump getting a third seat on the court was, quote, "We have arrows in our quiver that I'm not about to discuss." Great, now the Democrats are bringing arrows to a gunfight.
Actually, they're bringing nothing to the gunfight because they aren't going to fight at all because they don't care. Pelosi puts on cute little old lady theater and then she votes for his judges and his war budgets and to renew the Patriot Act. They are in this together. And you wonder why people won't vote Democrat.
We can't stop them from getting the court seat, which means we can't stop them from picking the election winner.
Oh, they could. They really could. But again, according to Pelosi, nobody's interested. Because why would they be?
It's like being in an arm wrestling contest. You can come back from here. It's almost impossible to come back from here.
And if you're arm wrestling your best pal, and you agree to split the pot beforehand, it doesn't really matter who wins. Because you're both getting paid.
How different it all could have been. Not to relitigate old wounds.
Oh, absolutely to relitigate old wounds. This entire bitch fest has been so you could relitigate old wounds.
But all the Hillary equivocators from 2016, the people who said she was racist, not really that different from Trump, the ones who voted third party, the ones who stayed home because, you know, the lesser of two evils. Sorry, but you all have to eat it one more time.
Eat it? I knew my green vote wouldn't win the big seat. I did it because I wanted to put a dent in your shitty, beloved duopoly. You're the one who failed to install a bloodthirsty megalomaniac who gave us Donald Trump in the first place.
Because, oh, how I would love me some of that Hillary evil right now.
No, really. You do know about the Pied Piper thing where Hillary's campaign and media connections essentially transformed Trump into the Republican nominee. You do know that, Bill. It is impossible for you not to know that. So really, Trump being president is a taste of evil Hillary.
You know, the evil where liberals would currently have a 6-3 majority on the court.
Neoliberals.
The evil where people wouldn't be facing having their health care taken away or their right to vote, or where America wasn't sliding into autocracy.
30 million people couldn't get health care under Obama, and Hillary screamed about how universal health care would never come to pass. And earlier, you were joking about people who had their right to vote taken away.
Let's look at the alternative universe. If a few more people in 2016 had told themselves, yeah, she's not my favorite, but you only get two choices in our system, it's probably better to make sure this sane, competent person gets in as opposed to a malignant narcissist.
That's why I voted for Stein.
And look, no nation as fundamentally unhealthy as this one could escape a pandemic unscathed, but I think Hillary would have done a little better than let them drink bleach.
Yeah, he never said that. So, you should probably stop telling people he did because it's a lie.
The Supreme Court hears oral arguments to overturn Obamacare on November 10th. Once this new justice is seated, Obamacare is likely gone. And after that, Roe versus Wade. So I hope you enjoy carrying your rape baby to term. You can name it Jill Stein.
Wow! That was disgusting. You are one sad motherfucker sometimes, and apparently you don't listen to your own monologue. Because moments ago you admitted that it was Pelosi and the sitting Democrats who have the ability to get in Trump's way, but are choosing not to. And just like that, you flip the switch and you make the embarrassing mistake of blaming the Green Party for the blue team's failure. As much as I wish the Greens had that kind of power, this weakness is on you.
Yes, Joe Biden is far from a perfect candidate, and I have serious doubts they'll ever let him take office. But giving him a vote total so huge it will be hard to ignore is the very last Hail Mary pass we have.
Man, if my go-home line was about an Alzheimer's patient being the only hope to save the free world, I'd fade out early too. Luckily, my closer's a bit more honest. Obama was such a failure he pissed off the whole country. Hillary was so incompetent she propped up Donald Trump and then lost to him. The Democratic Party tried to start a new Cold War instead of taking responsibility. Obama came back to screw Bernie a second time, and now the old man who can't remember where he is running for president even though we still have a Republican president. The blue team is pro-spying, pro-sickness, pro-cop, pro-cages, pro-war, and pro-1%. Sorry, Mr. $100 million, but you can't shame us into voting for your preferred flavor of oligarch. Remember, we got nowhere else to go? What happened last time your dumb fucking party gave people nowhere else to go? Oh, that's right. 90 million people stayed the fuck home.